Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into the science of the empath and specifically looking at why we absorb emotions. So picture this. You walk into a room, you're feeling totally fine, maybe even in a great mood. But then 20 minutes later, you leave feeling absolutely exhausted, super anxious, or just heavy. And for literally no reason. It's this sudden, jarring shift, right? It leaves you totally wondering, what on earth just happened to me?
So, why do you feel what they feel? Why is it that the emotions of the people around you suddenly become your own? Now, for a long time, people have just brushed this off, Oh, you're just overly sensitive, or you're letting your imagination run wild. But we're going to reframe that sudden absorption of bad vibes today. Because honestly, it's not your imagination. Actually, it's a genuine biological mystery. And we're going to solve it by looking directly at verifiable clinical research. We're talking about work from psychiatry experts like Dr. Judith Orloff and neuroscientists who specifically study human brain behavior.
So yeah, it is not just in your head. If you consider yourself an empath, you aren't just imagining this sudden emotional shift. Based on verifiable neurocognitive research from institutions like UCLA, an empath's brain is, literally and physically, hardwired to download other people's emotional baggage. Researchers actually know exactly why this happens, and it boils down to a very specific, scientifically verified set of biological and behavioral factors.
Clue number 1.
The biological hardware.
To figure this out, we need to look at the actual physical structures in the brain that make this emotional downloading possible. Enter mirror neurons. These are brain cells that fire both when you perform an action and when you simply observe that exact same action performed by somebody else. Now, just to be objectively clear here, every single human being has mirror neurons. It's how we learn as kids, it's how we relate to others. But, and this is a big but, verifiable research pioneered by neuroscientists like Dr. Marco Iacoboni explicitly points out that for empaths, these mirror neurons are hyperactive. They are basically working in absolute overdrive. To really see this hardware in action, let's compare a typical brain on the left to an empath's brain on the right. When a typical brain observes someone in pain, it registers that observed pain. It logically recognizes, okay, that person is hurting. But look at the empath's brain on the right. When an empath sees someone in pain, their brain doesn't just logically register the info. Nope. Because of those hyperactive mirror neurons we just talked about, the empath's brain actively simulates that physical and emotional response right in their own body. You aren't just seeing the pain. Your biological hardware literally forces you to actively simulate it. It's wild. Moving on to clue number 2, the behavioral software. So if the mirror neurons are the hardware making this whole thing possible, there's a second major factor acting as the software program running in the background, and that is a constant state of hypervigilance. Empaths are constantly, completely subconsciously, detecting tiny behavioral shifts in the people around them. We're talking microscopic changes that most people miss entirely, like minute alterations in a person's tone of voice, or a slight slump or tightening in their posture, or even tiny changes in how they're breathing. You probably don't even realize you're scanning the room for these cues, but you absolutely are. And here's where it all comes together. Your nervous system automatically reacts to match. When you subconsciously pick up on that strained tone of voice or that slightly shallow breathing, clinical psychology confirms that your automatic nervous system reads those subtle microcues as danger warnings. And what does it do in response? It automatically reacts to match the environment. It triggers your own physiological stress response to align with the person you're observing, successfully completing that emotional download. So it's basically this seamless biological loop between observing a microcue, your hyperactive mirror neurons simulating the feeling, and then your nervous system matching the physiological state. The resolution: protecting your energy.
So how do you actually protect your mental and emotional energy when your hardware and your software are quite literally designed to absorb everything around you? Well, it all comes down to a simple, grounding mental checkpoint. The very next time you find yourself suddenly absorbing bad vibes or feeling unexpectedly heavy after a conversation, I want you to pause and ask yourself, is this emotion actually mine, or did I just pick it up? By consciously asking this question, you interrupt that automatic nervous system response. You remind yourself of the verifiable biology we just explored, which helps separate your own genuine feelings from the emotional baggage your brain just auto-downloaded. It's an incredibly powerful way to reclaim your energy. But, it does leave us with a much larger question to ponder. As we become more scientifically aware of these hyperactive mirror neurons, is this empathic downloading a biological burden we need to constantly shield ourselves from? Or is it actually humanity's next evolutionary advantage?